Steve Dell'Orto, welcome back to the Preconstruction podcast.
Thanks, Gareth. It's awesome to be on again.
Lovely. It must be well since we last spoke, so just wanted to catch up with you now. I have to say that the numbers on our last podcast were very good. It's one of the most popular episodes. So, although that was 12 months ago, we've got a lot more listeners and audience. We've built and built over the last 12 months. So let's kind of concentrate on those guys and gals. What have you, if they haven't listened to the first one, give them a quick idea of ConCntric and what kind of work you do.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Gareth. ConCntric spawned out of my experience working for leading a top 10 general contractor in the US, doing a lot of collaborative deliveries, and just the fundamental lack of system and infrastructure to support all the folks and the professionals that are in the planning stage of the project, not in the construction phase of the project. And so after, all those experiences, I decided to build something that would solve all these pain points for everybody involved, be it the builder, the owner, the architect, all coming together. So ConCntric has spawned out of that, and we are creating a pre-construction ecosystem as a platform that will unite all the data, the workflows, and most importantly, the people, to provide an unparalleled certainty of outcome and trust for the project and all those involved. So we've been steady at it. It's certainly a big undertaking, but we've made incredible progress. So happy to talk about it more.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, the fact that, 26-year construction industry veteran. I mean, Steve, I can imagine every year you were picking up something, you were refining processes in-house at the company that you were working for. You were delivering huge margins. Some of the projects, I remember our previous conversation was 40% margins on projects. Was it always an idea, or were you just improving all the time? Was it in the back of your head going, you know what, there's a better way to doing this, and it involves technology?
I have a lot of sketchbooks and schematics full of, if there were no barriers, how would this be done more seamlessly with a lot less effort, with a lot more accuracy and precision? And so that's fundamental to the DNA of our platform. And, we're building it. Rome wasn't built in a day, but we're steady at it, and we've made very significant progress. But as you sit in these meetings in the real life, pre-construction planning world, what strikes you is the industry for years now has been moving towards more collaborative deliveries, number one, from the old contentious hard bid world. And with that, while it's good, it's putting a lot more pressure primarily on the builders, but everybody involved, to really have underlying process and systems to really handle all of this collaboration, integration with one another, and sharing of information. And what we're also finding is there's fewer and fewer people, as you well know, in our industry. So the demand for all things being built is growing at a very rapid pace. At the same time, the demand for more collaborative deliveries and people with a pre-construction process that's tried and true, that can produce predictable results. And you also have fewer and fewer people with less and less, I don't want to say years of experience, because experience doesn't necessarily mean time, but with pre-con and the professionals that do it day in and day out, there's an immense amount of knowledge and experience that really shapes the success of a project while they're engaged. And kind of that is a little bit of the problem for the industry, in that the tried and true equation that throughout my career, I always would fall back on. It's an equation that's simple. It's talent plus technology, systems, process is what you need to equal success. And so we have to really constantly over depend on the talent, because the industry is lacking so much of that infrastructure in the pre-construction and planning phase to really balance out that equation. So long answer to your question, but I shifted my career focus to focus on how to solve that part of the technology and the system part of that equation for the industry.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about it is you've actually gone and done it at your company, and you've reaped the rewards, and you've got the figures, the data to prove it, and now you've gone away. You've done a little bit of consultant, I know, through your own consultant, talked to as many people as possible. Then 12 months ago said, right, I'm ready to rock and roll. So tell us now. I mean, I'm getting excited. I know that you've got a bit of a press launch on January 18th. We are absolutely honored that you're actually speaking to us. We're going to launch, and people should be listening to this around January 18th. So thank you for that. So what can we expect? What's the news going to be? How's the last 12 months been? Any updates?
Well, sitting here January 2023, we've just hit this natural inflection point where we've been at it for a while. We've achieved a good solid foundation with product market fit. We really have defined and identified the array of pain points. It's not just one. It's a spectrum of pain points in pre-con, and how best to address them all and really pull it all together. And so through that, with a lot of the partnerships that we've had with a select group of contractors, design builders, owners, architects, we spent a lot of time just really defining and building the early parts of the platform here. But we sitting here today have hit this inflection point where we really want more people to use it. We want more people to be aware of it. So we're really just using the new year to be the point in time that we just let everybody know about the great stuff going on at ConCntric and the team, the ConCntric team, and all the great things that we've built and continue to build.
Brilliant. Yeah, the growth and momentum. I mean, from I can hear it, and even off record when we talked initially, I can hear the excitement in your voice. I know that you've got an international development team. You've been meeting up with them regularly. Has it really been built up for you? I mean, seeing it come together, has it got you excited? How are they feeling? What can we expect now that when people go on your website, book a demo?
Oh yeah, it's very rewarding, and it definitely brings a smile to my face every time we meet with customers or we get feedback from them that they've just gotten out of a meeting with their client and their project team, and everybody's expressing all of this interest. It reflects very well on them, and we get all this feedback. And just fortunate to have such a great team at ConCntric where all aspects of it, from a basic functionality, but really from the long-term vision, how we're pulling all of this together, the ease of use and the user interface, which is, I can tell you now, having now lived in both worlds, the building construction world and software development world, there's a lot of similarities and parallels, but at the same time, there's a lot of really different aspects to it that are much different than construction. But if you just think about it like architecture, you can have an architect develop some really beautiful designs that challenge the builder and how you're going to build it. And it's something that people look at and go, I love it, and it stands the test of time. And that's what we strive for. And we've just really focused on the user interface, especially because we want this to be easy for our users. We don't want to add work. We actually want to subtract work from their daily lives, even by the click or by the minute, because everybody's so overloaded as it is. And our job and our mission is to make that we're hyper focused on making it just super easy with less effort, but yielding more output and more benefit and value than they ever could, just the old manual analog way. And when I say analog, I'm talking about all of the multitude of ad hoc Excel spreadsheets and Word documents. I mean, that is the lion's share of the material and the tools that our professionals in the planning stage of the project, that's state of the art, but for a couple of estimating calculators and a couple of very specific point solution or focused tools. Everything is done still in a very analog way, and we're changing that.
Brilliant. And I mean, we know within the industry now, I mean, the Preconstruction podcast has been all over pre-construction technology, the digital transformation. There's a few exciting companies out there. ConCntric's right at the head of that. How are ConCntric differentiating themselves from the rest of the field? What are you most excited about that way?
Well, if you look at pre-construction, I think there's probably a lot of different, say, definitions of what pre-construction means to people. But, you know, the real definition of pre-construction is the whole of 20 to 30 different, say, ecosystems of workflows. And the estimate itself is just one. You know, it's one of the major ones, but it's just one aspect of what you do in pre-construction, both to plan and de-risk the project for you as the builder, but also as a service to your customer, as a service to your partner, or just industry partner being the design team. So the focus that we've had on a holistic approach to solving what is the pain point in pre-construction, because it's not just one, it's an array. So we're identifying those, pulling it all together. The end product is intended to be very open. You know, everybody has data, everybody's using point solutions or sources of data that we're not looking for them to, you know, abandon or switch over. So in a very open way, integrate and share that data where something exists. But when you actually inventory what exists compared to all those different facets, we're going to wind up organically building the lion's share of it within the platform. But, you know, as a platform, pulling all of that together, where everybody comes into ConCntric and does their work related to the planning of a project, and more so taking the collection of projects as a portfolio and being able to analyze and look at the performance of all of those projects in the aggregate, is the kind of the superpower of our platform. And, you know, while we've made some great strides, there's just so much to do, because not only has the industry been reported to be very antiquated, but pre-construction as one of the most crucial chapters in the story of the building of a project is the least served of all those segments. So, but I'm confident we are the team and the company that's going to solve that, because we're bringing to bear 26 years of knowledge in the trenches of actually having to do it and live it, and you know, collaborate with our, you know, my former customers and design partners, as well as other members of our team. So, you know, we pride ourselves on the fact that we're builders building something for builders, which I think is really the only way to go in pre-construction, as complicated and nuanced as it can be.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, we all know the importance of pre-construction. I mean, it's to me, it's come to the fore over the last 4 or 5 years. And I know through your 26-year career, if you look at it, you were operations, and then the importance of pre-construction. The penny obviously dropped at some stage. You've been focused on that. You know that if a project goes through pre-construction properly, there's open collaboration, there's project communication, then it's set up for success. It seems like project communication is a big thing when it comes to ConCntric. Would that be the biggest kind of, and there's, I'm sure, and reading and looking at the website and looking at the demos, there's a lot that it can do, but project communication, it's focused on that.
Well, think about communications from the standpoint of, it's not, you know, picking up a phone and talking to somebody. That's a form of communication, obviously, but really, when we talk about communication, it's not only the exchange of a conversation within the platform, but it's the ability to take, I'm going to put the builder's hat on, my builder's hat on, and I've got my team has to take all of this detail, that is the estimate and all of the other planning features, be it the schedule, et cetera, and communicate that to our customer and clients, some of whom are experts themselves in building and developing projects, but largely, they're not. They're more, their core competency and focus is in other areas. And so the communication is, how do we take something complicated, a lot of moving parts, a lot of iteration, and package that in a way that they understand. And it applies to anything. It applies to where are we today relative to the budget and the design. It depends on the optionality of what's in front of us. It's contract, it's insurance strategies, it's where are the permits and how does that play into how we're going to ultimately procure and go to market. I mean, all of those weave together. You have to be able to share information with everybody on the project team, all of the stakeholders, so that they understand. So we aim to really connect those dots and bridge that. It's maybe less about communications and it's more about knowledge share.
Yeah.
And, if you pull all that together, leveraging the data, having process that everybody looks at and has a high degree of confidence in and are willing to buy in to that process, you really start to break down the barriers that exist right now, which are physical, the exchange of information, not very convenient. There's also trust. And somebody's going to trust information that is the output of a system that they believe in, that has a level of sophistication. It's clearly benchmarked against other data points. It's not just some ginned up Excel spreadsheet. And so that helps to start build a higher degree of trust and the transparency as well. It's like my old geometry teacher, the answer wasn't good enough. She was grading us on showing our work and what was the logic behind, the answer or the hypothesis that we proved at the end. So there's a lot to say about transparency. And if you can demonstrate and show that data in a way that they get, and it doesn't cause you to spend man hours and man hours and man hours producing for one static display, but have that be more automated and at your fingertips without a lot of your own human intervention. Now we've got something special. And so that's what we're striving to do for the industry.
Brilliant. And then, Steve, I mean, that would reduce risk on all sides as well. I mean, it would make things a little bit more predictable. So you mentioned the stakeholders there. I'm thinking about the client. I'm thinking about the subcontractors, not just the GC. I mean, surely everybody looks at this and goes, brilliant. It's solving so many problems, and it's taking the risk. Not, listen, you're never going to eliminate risk, but it's taking a big chunk of it out of it.
Yeah, risk is the thing that everybody's trying to trade off like the hot potato, but that's because they're not really reducing the risk or dealing with it to make it go away. They're just merely saying, I don't want this, you take it. And that's to the detriment of the industry, because that's what causes a lot of pricing to go up. That's certainly the basis for a lot of the distrust that has accrued over time in our industry. But if you can really focus and attack that risk and drive it down, then everybody wins. But fundamental to all that, I mean, what you're speaking to is very much our vision, which is, if we do what we do, we ultimately are going to make the built world more affordable, predictable, and sustainable. And risk, cost, all of those are basic common denominators to our vision.
Brilliant. So how's it been the last 12 months dealing with suppliers, customers? Can you see the excitement in their face and the appetite for it?
Oh, we can. I mean, it's different companies, I think, engage in different ways, but the beauty is that what we're building has been very impactful and useful for the companies that, they may do 50, 100, 150 million dollars a year, all the way up to the big top 10 in the ENR, the ENR top 10 list, where they're doing, billions and billions and billions of dollars a year. So, that's the interesting thing about pre-construction is the process and the way you engage with the client is generally the same, very common from the smallest of the projects to the largest. What's different is the number of commas, number one, but some smaller projects don't need to delve into some of the detail that you might have to on a big mega project. But for the most part, 80 to 85% of your daily work effort in pre-construction is the same, no matter the size of the project and the size of the company. So what's been really rewarding and exciting has been that level of interest, that level of validation. And, you can also see it with, this relief and excitement that finally there's something that I don't have to continue to sweat these ad hoc Excel spreadsheets, the errors that I wind up making with Excel. And then as a leader, whether you're in charge of a pre-construction group or you're the CEO, owner of a company, the ability to have a little bit more visibility into the status of the projects. Certainly, we're a fantastic solution to companies where you might have multiple offices or you could have multiple teams, and they're all doing it in their own different way, which makes it very hard to really unify all of that information and make sense of it quickly. So there's a lot of homework and extra work that people do. I mean, people even have to spend a lot of G&A money hiring people just to constantly translate and decipher and pull together some outlook for the enterprise or the corporation for what's going on in pre-construction. And what we've already built does that for them automatically. So it's exciting to see the buy-in, the interest, the relief from, you're a junior estimator all the way up to the CEOs of the companies that we're serving. So it's been very validating because, the pains that I felt, that I dealt with and struggled with in terms of, gosh, I wish I could do this. Gosh, why do I have to spend so much time curating all this information over and over and over again? They're feeling the same pain points, and for them to recognize and see and appreciate what we're building is special, and we very much appreciate it.
Yeah, and by the sounds of things, it lets estimators and pre-construction professionals do what they're good at, which is value engineering, experience, make the good, hard, high-level decisions.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's in pre-construction from just the cocktail napkin. As I said before, there's this massive movement that's not recent. It's been happening in over years. I think FMI is projecting in the handful of years that over 88% of all projects will be done under a form of collaborative delivery. What hasn't caught up with the industry is the systems and the underlying process to support that level of collaboration. And I think owners, my experience and the experience of others has been there's more and more dependence or expectation of the stakeholders, primarily the owner, for the builder to really be that center pole of the tent to coordinate the effort, always be checking in and monitoring cost and where the budget and the design alignment is going. So whether you're being rewarded for that or not, it's still ultimately your job by default, and we've got to make that a lot easier. It's just the manual analog way just isn't going to work, and it's only going to get more and more challenging. So really excited about the dent in the construction universe that we aim to make.
Yeah, this holistic approach, it sounds like the industry has been craving this for quite some time. So Steve, if there's someone on this listening to this podcast now and saying, you know what, that sounds amazing, that sounds like something I want to talk to my boss about, or I just want to see for myself how this all works out. You've obviously got the press launch January 18th. Where do they go to book a demo? Is it the website?
Yeah, they go to the website, ConCntric. You can see the spelling behind me here. ConCntric.com or sales@ConCntric.com to book a demo. You'll most likely end up with me or a few of our other great folks that will walk you through the beauty of ConCntric and what we're building. And we would love to show everybody the functionality and what we're building with ConCntric, and also thrive on the feedback. because we are a growing, evolving thing, right? And so with that, there's always, we're always layering things onto what we've built. We're building new things module by module. And eventually the universe of pre-construction, will become far more powerful. And the data and everything that you generate doing what you do in pre-construction is going to be far more useful for you in the future to make your next project better, smarter, less risk. The project after that. I mean, the flywheel effect of how things get better and smarter and less risky over time, the more you're using ConCntric and having your projects on it, that's the future power for you.
And it's amazing because obviously that increases capacity for the client or the company to be able to bring on more projects, because you hear all the time of I speak to VPs and directors of estimating and pre-construction, and they're turning around going, we do not have any more capacity in operations to deliver these projects. Whereas if the technology and holistic approach of ConCntric comes on, then surely they can. And listen, they're all looking to grow. They're looking to go from 100 million up to 200 million, 300 million. But if you don't have the technology, it's very difficult.
It is. And, the margins are so incredibly thin. The risk continues to grow for everybody involved in trying to make these projects, work and be delivered successfully. And, from a platform perspective, the platform is being designed and built to serve the project. And what I mean by the project, all the stakeholders involved in the project. It's not built to serve only one entity at the expense of the others. So, what we're already building, feature wise is helping to not just one feature that is optimizing, the alignment of budget and design, whether that's value engineering or target value design in a more proactive sense, we do that, but to serve the users more holistically is what we're focused on with other elements of the platform. The ability to just have everybody understand what is the plan and the timing and the timeline of pre-construction. I mean, these are really generally basic facets of pre-con, but having lived it, it's one of those things that is not as, managed and focused on as you would think. And so things tend to take longer, confusion about what's being delivered and when, and the completeness of it. So, it's things like, our timeline capability and features, the ability through foresight to not only just discuss the targets you've set and driving design to those targets, or if you're in that tough spot where you're over budget and you have to just do the traditional value engineering. But how do you make that process more engaging with the customer, the owner, and the architect, so that they can be more hands-on in the collaboration of the generation of the ideas and the consideration of the ideas, either individually or running a multitude of scenarios, which we have some very special functionality built around that. But the ability to just bring everybody to one place and understand what's going on the project relative to the budget and the cost, the pro forma budget target, and how the costs are trending, the size of the project from a square footage perspective and the basis of design. And that's an internal view. But then how do you benchmark and compare that through our Calibrate feature, that you can start to bring in all of your historical data from your other similar projects, and that way you can see, are you an outlier, or how do you stack up graphically? Again, user interface, just short and sweet, at a glance, I get the message. Okay, I'm either in the pack and I like that, or I'm an outlier, we have a little bit of a problem, because we're obviously designing something or building something that's way beyond the market or below. So, those are just a few of the features that we've built that make up the beginnings of our platform. But the whole idea is not to focus on one specific workflow. I'm fortunate to have been brought on as a venture partner with several venture capital funds that are focused on the construction tech market and the industry as a whole. And I think one of the concerns I have with that vantage point is that the industry could potentially wake up one day and have a bunch of point solutions. And if that's all we have, then now we've gone from an analog problem to an integration problem. And, we as builders aren't built to handle integrating technology solutions, et cetera, to make our data flow the way we need it to flow. So, a platform approach is essential, and having a platform like ConCntric that will either organically build out the workflows that are needed or integrate with any existing solutions or anything that emerges in the future, to where now we as a group are solving the industry's problem, because I think this is truly a team effort and needs to be thought about that way in terms of sharing and openness, because it's a massive industry and it's massively behind where it needs to be. And so we have a lot of catching up to do, and there's a lot at stake. I mean, there are so many projects that don't pencil, but they actually could. If we had more accurate data, if we had a more systematic way of planning and working through the pre-construction planning process, you'd be amazed at how many projects would ultimately pencil. Critical housing, healthcare, all the things that our society needs as our population grows and as our infrastructure needs to be upgraded and replaced because it's aging. So, that's what we're dealing with is critical. This isn't about just making one person's daily work effort easier. I mean, that's certainly what we are doing, but fundamentally, if we do that right, we're not only making everybody's life easier, but we're really unlocking the solutions to making some critical things happen in our society, making things more predictable, making things more affordable, and making things more sustainable.
Incredible, yeah. And again, building bigger, faster, and safer projects is what it's all about, and it sounds like ConCntric do that. And I love the fact that you're concentrating on the UI, because we're all visual people. I mean, I think about the technology we use here in our office. If it's not visual, I know myself, I struggle as an engineer, I struggle with it, and most of the people are the same. So I'm really looking forward to getting a look at that. I know you've got some screenshots on the website, but getting the demo is definitely, I think, what people should reach out about. What I'm going to do as well on the show notes, I'm going to put your LinkedIn. So Steve Dell'Orto, your personal LinkedIn. If somebody's just got a simple question that they want to throw over to you, they can pop it over in a message. But then for people who are looking to get a demo, go onto the website. I'll put the demo link on the website on the show notes as well. But I have to say, I want to say thank you as well and I know you've been on the podcast quite a few times, but a big shout out and a thank you for coming on and sharing this with us. Cannot wait to see. I mean, from what I see on the website, the amount of work that's been done in the last 12 months, I cannot wait to see what happens in the next 12 months, because sticking your chest out like this, saying, ConCntric, we've arrived, come look at us, come ask us questions, come tell us what we could do better. It's a big statement.
Again, it's always a team effort. It's not any one individual. So we've just got a fantastic team, and we've also had the fortune of surrounding ourselves with some great quality builders and owners and architects that are all sizes, on the smaller end of the spectrum as well as the large, ENR top 10. So, this has been a true team effort to both validate, build, participate, and enhance ConCntric and what we have today. And that's kind of the mantra forever. So as we grow, that all will remain the same as kind of a core root to what we do as a team. It's always about a team.
That's it. Teamwork makes a dream work. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah. And Gareth, I've always complimented you and applaud you for the focus that you have on pre-construction, having the pre-construction podcast and do what you do, because I think the front end and the professionals that do, that do the planning for the project, oftentimes are maybe not considered or focused on as much as the people that are actually in the construction phase building the projects. And I think, as I've always tried to do in my career, is truly celebrate those professionals, because that's where the table is being set. That's what is truly driving the business. And I'm not at all taking away from the importance of the execution of the project. But if the project's not planned well, nobody's winning. And if the project is planned well, everybody wins. And it's such a crucial stage, and everybody that's involved in the planning of a project is critical to that. So I applaud you to have for having that same focus we do at ConCntric on the folks that are planning the projects and doing pre-construction day in and day out.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's why a partnership's so important. And I can tell everyone now, they'll probably hear it in the show notes as well. ConCntric are going to come on as a sponsor to the Pre-Construction podcast, because we've got the same mission, and it's really important to get as many people into pre-construction as possible. We know the mantra that the podcast is: the future of construction is pre-construction, the future of pre-construction is technology and talent. So thanks again, Steve. Looking forward to, I don't want to leave it 12 months now till we catch up again. So we might do a little small update maybe in 6 months and see where you're at.
That'd be fantastic. Anytime, anything I can do to support.
Thanks, Steve. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Gareth.